All right, ask anyone on the GOP side who opposes the president's health care plan, which is most, and they will speak loudly about repealing it, replacing major chunks of it. However, they may actually be secretly rooting for the Supreme Court to come to their aid and save Obamacare. It is indeed confusing and worth the investigation. Welcome into MidPoint. Senior writer for the Weekly Standard, Mark Hemingway, joins us. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you.
We are going to start out with your column here in the Weekly Standard, but first, before we do, I wanted to bring this to your attention and get your focus on this. This came from the National Journal, saying the one word that could save Obamacare, and also why Republicans secretly hope the Supreme Court will save Obamacare. This all comes down to King versus Burwell, and many people believe that because of the language in it, that there's a secret group out there, and apparently some has been reported on, of Republicans who want this to go ahead, who don't want to face this anymore. What do you think?
I think there's some truth to that. A lot of people have covered this King versus Burwell Supreme Court case as if it's going to completely gut Obamacare and take care of the problem, and that's not the case. What it's going to do is it's going to remove Obamacare subsidies that people are getting through federal exchanges. And if the Supreme Court takes away those subsidies, what that means is that Republican governors who, in states that haven't set up Obamacare exchanges, are going to face tremendous pressure to set up their own exchanges so that all of a sudden the people that were getting insurance through Obamacare can get federal subsidies to keep getting insurance as they have been prior.
Isn't it almost the possibility here that some Republicans are looking at this and saying, well, if the Supreme Court rules on it and we're stopped, gee, our hands are clean. We did everything we could, and sorry, folks. It almost seems as if that might be the excuse that's in the offing.
Yeah, that could very well be, but this case is not a slam dunk either. For gutting Obamacare and getting rid of it or preserving it or anything. There's a larger legal principle here at stake, which is, do you interpret and enact laws as they're written, which is actually a very important issue as far as textualism and conservative jurisprudence is concerned. So that's the larger issue, and that's what people should focus on. What this does to Obamacare, the fallout, who knows what the consequences will be.
All right, now I want to focus in on your column and the title on it. I'd like you to explain, because I'm going to send people to it, and they should read it because it's a great read on this whole King versus Burwell case. The
Thanks.
Hot new argument for Obamacare fascism. Go ahead.
Well, to just be perfectly clear here, fascism is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and I was intentionally trying to be provocative, simply to say that most people don't understand what fascism correctly means. It's sort of the collusion of corporate interests and authoritarian government in order to, basically control the people in a system of government. And that's largely what's going on here with Obamacare. And we see this because now all of a sudden people on the left are openly arguing that Obamacare is a good law because a number of corporate forces that profit off of the law are supporting it and endorsing it and don't want this King versus Burwell Supreme Court case to gut the law.
All right, now this comes down, and you pointed out, to a Mother Jones article in here, and they're getting an awful lot of play on this. America's largest healthcare company tells Supreme Court that anti-Obamacare argument is absurd. Is that true?
That's... that is absolutely true, and it's a fascinating article. The very first sentence of the article is this, and says, if getting rid of Obamacare is such a good idea, why isn't corporate America getting behind King versus Burwell, the Supreme Court case designed to demolish the Affordable Care Act? Now, since when has anyone on the left has said that corporate support for something indicates that it must be a good thing? This argument is normally anathema to the left, but it's only when we have a situation here where corporate interests and the government are colluding to control 1/6 of the economy under, authoritarian government auspices that all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, corporate interests, if they like the law, then that must mean it's good. But the reality is that major insurers stand to profit hundreds of millions of dollars off of Obamacare subsidies, and that's why they made a Faustian bargain with the Obama administration to pass the law in the first place.
So, Mark, I got about 30 seconds left. What avenues of attack do the Republicans have left open to them now?
Others against Obamacare?
Sure, against Obamacare, and knowing what King versus Burwell might do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
And in light of what King versus Burwell may indeed do.
Right. Well, I think that if King versus Burwell goes through and they end up eliminating these federal subsidies, then it'll just be another nail in the coffin, in the sense that people will realize this 2,700-page law has so many moving parts. It's just totally unworkable, and at some point we're just going to have to scrap it all together and start from scratch, because there have been so many things just chipping away at the law that sooner or later people are going to realize it's too wobbly to stand on its own.
I think people have realized that already, and there's a lot of people already trying to see if they can take out some of those moving parts. Again, I want to point out the article. It's in the Weekly Standard. It is the hot new argument for Obamacare, fascism. You heard Mark say he likes to stir it up. He's going to do it with that indeed. Mark, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, pleasure. Scott Walker already has the GOP presidential nod wrapped up for 2016. Haven't you heard? Well, we'll dig into that when we come back right here on MidPoint.